Hey everyone, welcome to another live stream from Malts and Meeples. I am Petter. We are diving back into the world of Tainted Grail. Just a quick refresher since it's been a couple of weeks. If you're not familiar with Tainted Grail is a big survival story-driven game from Awaken Realms where we're playing a character who is going into the wide world of Avalon, trying to figure out what has happened to a group of people from his village and figure out how to drive the weirdness back. So, we're getting ready to hop in, but before we do that, let's get the last couple things set up here. Let's talk about what I'm drinking tonight. So we'll see if Erev has been on Good Behavior. Good Behavior is a IPA from O'Dell Brewing. They call it a Crushable IPA. That is quite tasty. It's very much a session IPA, but very good. Nonetheless, it's not too hoppy, too strong, anything like that. It's just a good balance in terms of flavor. And I just realized I need to update some info here quick, because this is no longer there. Info has been updated on the stream. This is game 3, playthrough 1. Meaning this is the third time I've played this game. So the first time a couple bad rolls got me. The second time I rushed through the first chapter knowing what I needed to do. And that came back to bite me because I hadn't gotten enough XP, enough food, explored enough, gotten enough items to really level up. So, give the item deck here a quick shuffle. And then we will get ready to jump in. I have with me my handy dandy map of Avalon. Have our men here set. Save sheet, adventure book, everything except me checking that I'm alive. I got a notification that yes, I am live. So anybody watching, hi. Let's start again by reading the letter that was given to Erev. Dear friend, I know your secret. I realize you're no farmer, and that you settled here to run from something. I know how it feels to be haunted by your past deeds, to leave your old life behind. I also know a fighting man when I see one, and I believe that should I fail, you are the town's second best chance. Know that Avalon once belonged to twisted immortal powers. It was not a place for humans. Arthur, the once and future king, subdued this realm inch by inch. He took the Grail from the Four Dwellers and used it to bring the laws of our world to this godless place. People of the village believed their men here was raised to immortalize this. The truth is, it was created to keep the ancient powers out, to anchor Avalon to the world of mankind. Now the men here go dark. The laws of nature unravel one by one. Lord Yvain secretly gathered 5 people, including me, and he leads us east to seek help in Camelot. I want to take you with us, but the others feared misfortune that seems to follow your footsteps. But if we do not return, it means our luck wasn't any better. Should the worst come to pass, I implore you, take up your arms once again and save our people. Feel Master Huntsman of Connacht. So, right now, we're going to kick off Chapter 1. So at the start of every day, you reduce men here, token by 1. Reveal event card. The time is short. The guardian menhir has been protecting your town since the ancient days, is about to go dark. Rumor has it that there's a secret druidic ritual that may help you rekindle the menhirs. You must explore the locations surrounding Connacht to find it. Quest. Earn Menhir Rights secret card. To do so, you will have to explore locations around Connacht. Success. As soon as you have this, go to Part 5. Hint, this is the first game. Try to return to Connacht at the end of this day and spend the night there to read the dream, as dreams often contain hints. So I'll do that again. I'll read the dream. It's been a little while. So I have 6 energy. Well, I can spend 5 of it before I become exhausted. I know that I want to do a few things differently. Such as this, I can spend 1 energy to gain a reputation. I can do that once per day. That gets me a reputation, so I'm on the board with that. I also know that I want to explore this first location, 101. A deep feeling of loss fills everything in Connacht. From dilapidated farms to the sunken eyes of those who remain in the town. The menhir in the market is all but extinguished, and everyone brave enough has left to find a solution. If you have Winds of Weirdness, but I do not. I don't have 6/6 secret card. I don't have Hunter's Mark. So I could visit families, ask the town folk to help me prepare, rest. So I'm going to ask the town folk to help me prepare. Though they have little left, they share with you their last remaining supplies. Somehow, this seems unworthy of a hero, but since all true heroes are lost, who will dare question your methods? If you have at least 1 reputation and don't have the Scrounger status, each party member gains 2 food and 1 random item. Then I gain the Scrounger status. So filling that in. And 2 food. Takes me up to 4 food. That will keep me going for a little bit. As well as an item. Companion, experienced guide. Each day, the first travel costs you 1 less for you and all your party members. At the end of the day, pay a wealth or a rep or discard this card. Interesting. So I have somebody I can kind of keep around as long as I have reputation or wealth. That'll be something. We'll see how long he sticks around. I have 1 reputation and 1 wealth right now. So I could go to the Charred Conclave, Hunter's Grove, Warrior Fair, or the Forlorn Swords. or I could again explore in town. I have a limited number of explorations that I'd want to do. I know that there's the family verse, so I'm going to explore again. I'll probably explore, then work on setting up myself for a future day. So I'm exploring. I'm going to visit the families of the champions from the first expedition. If you're to find them, knowing more about them might help. This long winter, nearly everyone here lost a friend or family member to hunger, then to disease. Finally, 5 remaining pillars of the community, the only heroes this land had ever known, suddenly left. Now, when you look into the distant eyes of the last remaining residents, you realize they want to forget. So I could ask them to share their burdens, because I have empathy. I could use mead, which would mean that I either pay a wealth or a food. Both of them end up in the same spot at verse 2, I should say, not 12. 12. I have the empathy, so I'm going to go to verse 2. It takes a while, so I don't forget, it takes a while to break the silence of the grief-stricken people. But when you do, the stories of separation and departures flood you like a torrential rain. You try to remember every detail, the color of the palfrey horse of the village priestess, Nayet rode, the ornament on the hauberk the young Lord Yvain wore, the strange drinking whore of Erfir, the smith used to lug around, the birthmark of Vael, the master huntsman, the embroidered cape of Aubert, the seasoned traveler who'd seen all parts of the island. Who knows what details can help you on the road. Gain Part 1, Fate of the Expedition. So I am going to do one thing this time, and let me see. Perfect. I'm going to take a few more notes. It didn't really come up as something important for me previous time, but just taking a note or two here or there might be helpful. Because like the priestess rode on a palfrey horse. That was and we have ornament on the hauberk. That was Lord Yvain. We have a drinking horn for Erfir. We have birthmark on Vael. Feel and embroidered cape of Aubert. That might be nothing in terms of what I need, but it's interesting And it feels like it could be something in the long run. So I said I was going to rest, but I can move once for free, so I might as well. But I can pay a wealth and get a craftable item, or I can explore at location 105. However, I have to remember I need to put now in location 108, the Grubwood. That is a special thing on it, which is explore when you enter this location. That exploration is free. So that'd be something nice to do. Now I have a choice. I can explore. I could pay to get a craftable item. I'm going to... Here's the tricky bit, is because I want to keep my reputation, but I don't mind having the experienced guide. I'd love to have gotten him later in the game, maybe when I had collected a chunk of wealth or reputation. But right now I have 1 reputation and 1 wealth. That's enough to keep him around for two turns. So I'll probably use the reputation the first time, since I can go back here, get more reputation if I want. So that means let's explore. Location 105. The Forlorn Swords. You rest a while in the shade of titanic swords, their rusty smell causing your nose to tingle. 100 yards away, an elder smith toils, chipping at jagged edge of a giant weapon. The hammer he uses to break apart this ancient steel seems very strange, as does the sound it makes. If there's a quest locate on this, go to 14. There is not. I could attempt to climb the pommel. I could talk to the smith. I could rest in the shade of the sword. Or I could leave exploration. I think I'm going to try and talk to the smith. There's a dial on this location. Go to verse 3. If you are playing Bayor, or he is in your party, we know the smith, we go to 4. The smith does not like unannounced guests, or people who'd like to see his methods. You only catch a glimpse of the strange ornate hammer as he gingerly hides it, and tells you to leave in no kind words. If I had 2 empathy, I could go to verse 4. If I want, I could refuse to leave, or I could just go back to the start and do another choice. I'm going to refuse to leave. Tensions run high. You and the smith both have short tempers. A violent fistfight erupts. Roll a die and add your aggression. 5. So 5 plus. You manage to push him back and knock out some of his teeth. Each party gains an experience, a terror, and 1 wealth. Either way, exploration ends. Place a time token on the dial and set it to 3. Then place it on this location. When it disappears, or when it goes down to 0, remove it. So basically, he's going to remember me for a few days. Alright, so that used up my final energy on that exploration. I will spend a wealth to keep the experience guide with me. I will spend a food. It doesn't heal me, but it drops my terror back down. Go up to 6. I could spend experience if I had more. Modify my dex. There's a dream. Do the dream. And then we advance to the next day. There is a dream at this location. The army of men formed a defensive line with their backs toward the sea. A last desperate stand. But the four dwellers did not attack. Instead, they sent giants to do the dirty work. As the Titans began to advance, the men cowered behind their shields and horses panicked. Only Arthur held his ground. He knew the giants would come. He counted on it. Alone, he marched out to meet them, stretching his arms wide. Half an hour later, the giants bent their knees before the human king and drove their weapons deep into the hill, vowing to never take them up against humans again. Each character who has this dream loses a terror. So I have no terror left. That's unfortunate. That would have been nice to not have spent that food and just gotten rid of the terror that way. Though I think I would have had to have spent the food no matter what. Alright. So next, we flip over this additional card. Homeless vagabonds roam the roads and trails. Many hail from fishing villages further west, where the last menhirs went dark weeks ago. Though malformed and sick, they're the lucky ones. Their tales chill you to the bone. Is this the fate that awaits your land? Each player may spend 1 wealth or 1 food to gain a rep and an experience. I will spend a food to gain a reputation and an experience. Then we add 4 random event cards to the top. So we continue to build our deck. So let's go climbing. Oh yeah, before that happens, this ticks down to 2. This ticks down to 6. Yeah, let's go climbing. And then I think I'll go up to the Hunter's Grove and work my way back down after that. I'll need food about that point in time anyways. Attempt to climb the swords. Is that gold you see high up on the pommel? Try a free climb, trusting your strength and agility. Requires 1 courage. Roll a die, add +1 for each point of health. I could pay an energy, roll a die, add +2, then add +1 for each one to health. Or, if I have pay 2, add 5, and then add 1 for each one to health. Well, I'm full up on health, so I'm just going to I'll pay an additional energy. So that's 8, 9, 10, 11. 11. You slip several times, cutting yourself on the sharp edges before you reach the top. Each party member loses 1 health. If there is no quest token on this location card, go to 14. If there is, remove it and go to 6. There isn't one, so we go to 14. Sweaty and tired, you're now in a narrow niche that was once the sword's fuller. There you rest for a while, feasting your eyes on the wide open vistas of the land. From here you can see there are 2 more menhirs near Canuck. One sits hidden between the mist-covered mounds of the Fordwellers, the other in the hills near the cursed town known as Whitening. Put a quest token to represent your progress. If you have no energy left, you're too exhausted to go up or down, the sun is setting, go to verse 15. Otherwise, I could descend, or I could climb further up. I'm going to climb further up. I'm not going to spend the extra energy. 5, 12, 13. So it takes me to verse 10 again. So that then takes me, so I remove this, and it's going to take me to verse 6. That is verse 6. It is showing me how to orient these markers. 427, and back in the back here we have the Book of Secrets, which has verses to it. 427. You did it. You pull yourself onto the sword's crossguard, as wide as a moat. Startled seabirds watch from their nests. You stretch your arms wide, as if to embrace the entire island. From here, you can see incredible faraway places. The pale, smooth walls of the Four-Dweller Fortress to the northwest. The castle of Camelot, far along the eastern shore. The reflective surface of Mirror Lake directly to the north. The sacred Druid moonring behind it. Then, you discover that many parts of the sword's crossguard and pommel are still covered in gold. If you don't have part 1 of the Hidden Treasures status, I do not, each party member gains an experience and 2 wealth. This is going much better than the first couple times. I barely had anything on these. Then I gained part 1 of Hidden Treasures and Exploration Ends. So, I'm going to travel for free once here. I'll spend an energy to gain an additional reputation. And then I will go up here for my last energy. This will get me ready for the next turn up there. I have plenty of wealth and reputation to keep the experienced guide around. So, let's go to the night phase. And I'll flip quickly to 102. As that's where I will be having my dream at. So, those thick pages that are slightly stuck together. So first, I can either play a wealth or experience. Do a wealth. Then I can, after that, I consume food. So I'll consume a food. Oh, I guess I should remember. I have 106, the $4 rounds, and 107, whitening, on the map now. I restore my energy to full. I could spend experience points, but I don't want to right now. I really want to see if I can get up and get double aggression like I did the time before. And that requires 6 experience. So it may be that I end up putting a card in play. We'll see. Modified deck, there's a dream. So here's the dream. You drift off under the ochre-painted constellation into a restless sleep, where you chase a young dove in the hills just outside of Connaught. 102, yeah. You wake early in the morning, a cold sweat with several fresh cuts. The taste of blood fills your mouth. Besides you, raw pieces of meat laid carefully wrapped in leaves. If you don't have Hunter's Mark, gain that status. I did not. So we're now Hunter's Marked. We'll see what that means. And each character at the location gains 2 food, and then gain Hunter Mark. So I'm going to spend an energy to start the day exploring. It's still here, as always. Enormous, empty eye sockets start to watch you as soon as you descend into the moss-covered basin. The horns, as wide as a longship, are now the home of countless birds. Inside the vast skull lies a quiet, candlelit shrine with several straw mattresses strewn about it. The local hunters call this ancient skull the Stag Father, and lay charms and offerings around it. The legend says the Stag Father takes the dreamers away to join him on the great hunt. That's probably what happened to us. If I don't have tracker status, go to verse 3. A trail of blood and broken branches is not unusual in the sacred forest of the great hunter. You almost pass it without noticing when the imprint of a bloodied hand on a white birch's bark catches your attention. This prey wasn't an animal. Gain the tracker status. Let's see how many of these statuses I can get. There's an insane number of statuses. Just quick count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's probably 55 different names of statuses, and some of them have up to, I think the most is 9 parts. So highly unlikely that I will get all the statuses, but we'll see. So that takes us to verse 5. A long-haired bow maiden lies hidden deep in the briars, clenching her pierced gut. It looks like the hunter became the prey. Judging from the bow maiden's hisses and curses, there's still some fight in her. You approach regardless. Her wound looks beyond your help. There's only one place where you can tend to injuries like this, the island asylum off the coast of the south. But that's a long trek to save a bloodthirsty servant of the Stag Father. So we take out this and this and set it to 2. Technically it travels with you, but I like to just set it on the character card instead of having to move it. As long as you have the dial, add 1 to each of your movement costs. If the dial ticks down to 1, discard it. This makes it impossible to complete the task. You can voluntarily discard the dial at any time. New task. Bring the wounded bow maiden to the island asylum and explore the asylum to find her help. Exploration ends. So, I'm going to start by moving here. It would normally cost 2, however I have the experienced guide who reduces it by 1. And then I will go here, spending my last 2 energy, and this gets me the island asylum that I can now see down here. Also gets me a grain counter. So we know what the first one is. It is a mist-shaped rat. Mist, M-I-S-T, not mist, M-I-S-S-E-D. So this has been out in the weird. It has 4 health. Huh. I need to look up a rule here, I think. With combat, because I have a really crappy starting hand. I thought there was a mulligan rule. We'll see when we find combat. Page 14. Alright, starting. So I can discard my hand to draw only 2, which I'm going to do because I could have gotten... Wait. Could have spent a magic and killed them, but... Got what I was looking for. Play that. It's the only card I'm playing. He attacks me for 1. I don't take any damage. I get to draw an additional card, and then I only have 2 cards, so I draw a card. So that hits him for 3 out of the 4 that I need to do. I could do that, just stop here, but I can then connect this here for a bonus. This is again to prevent 2 damage, so I take no damage, and I get to draw a card, and then draw an additional card, which allows me to get this, which has plenty of damage to kill him, doesn't get a chance to attack back. So I've killed the misshaped vermin, and I gain a food from it. Which, looking at my... No, that is the right food amount. Oh, this should have ticked down to 1 that previous night. So then I discard all my combat cards, have beaten that combat, have no energy left. I don't want to exhaust myself, so I tick the Bow Maiden down to 1. Tick this down to 0, so that goes away. And I just realized I've forgotten to do this. Beautiful weather. So I technically have one remaining energy, which I would have spent here to gain an additional reputation, which I then spend that reputation to keep the experienced guide, and I consume a food, not damaged, so that doesn't do me anything. And then I check for dreams. I'm at 104. There's a dream icon. In your dream, you flee from a rolling wave of darkness, slowly consuming the land behind you. You try to pick your path carefully, making sure to gather ample provisions along the way, and to rekindle any menhirs you find. After a while, the wave catches up with you and swallows you whole. You come back to the start of the dream. This time you flee as fast as your legs can carry you, but the hunger, dead ends, and the beasts of the land quickly end your life. Hint: to survive, you need to move fast, but not at the cost of the resources or survival tracks. Basically, rush as quickly as you can through stuff, but don't rush so fast that you fail to have enough supplies. So like right now, good setup for that. We come to the next day. It ticks down to a 5. So I still have plenty of time left, which is good. So I spend, that goes back up. I spend 1 to move there, and I'll spend 1 to explore. So this is location 109, the Island Asylum. The waves splash against the hull of the boat. A silent hooded man slowly ferries you to a secluded island. Its dark willow grove overlooked on 3 sides by the ancient necropolis carved into the mountain. You know the sick are kept in the deep, dark holes, yet you still feel uneasy stepping down onto the shore. Grim monks, the keeper of this place, inspect your body despite your objections. Only then do they agree to listen to you. If you have tracker and the dial, go to verse 11. Verse 11 is another code. One, 4, 7. 147. Go back to the back of the book. 147. The bow maiden reluctantly thanks you and hands you a small parting gift. Each party member gains an experience. 4. Maybe I'll spend it on cards tonight. Gain Stagfather's Charm, secret number 17. Stagfather's Charm reads, when you draw the Bow Maiden encounter, put it back to the bottom of its deck, gain 1 food, and then continue the game. So whenever we're facing off against a Bow Maiden, since we helped one of their kind, they're going to help us in return. And we don't have to fight them, which is nice of them. I appreciate it. I forgot to do this again. If you're out of a settlement when the day ends, lose 2 health. Oof. It's called an unnatural chill. This is not a settlement. I would have to go to Whitening or Canuck. And I'm going to explore again, which I already knocked down for. So as long as nothing else happens, I can get to Canuck. We'll see how this goes. 109. I could hire myself as an assistant. I could tour the monuments. I could sneak into the depths. I'm going to sneak into the depths. 6, 7, 8, because I can use both practicality and courage. That gets me to verse 3. If you have part 5 of prophecies and dream statuses, go to verse 8, otherwise read on. Archdruid Wormtoe is in one of the deepest cells, desperately sustaining himself with magic. The last strips of skin left on his body resemble the scales of a half-scrubbed fish. His mind, however, seems to be in good shape. It doesn't take long for him to recognize you're an outsider. He takes a long, hard look at you. If you're playing Maggot, if he's in your party, or if you have fewer than one magic, I have one magic, exploration would end, otherwise we go to verse 2. Listen to me, the druid says. We should let you all die for what you did to us, ungrateful filth. But knowledge of the circle cannot die with me. You must listen. You have to remember. Each member gains 2 experience. So I've done this once before. I did not remember that I gained 2 experience there. So that actually gives me 6 experience, which is going to be enough to give me 1 more aggression. Yeah, that is a Crushable IPA. Won't lie. If you don't have it, gain part 5 of Dreams and Prophecies. And then secret number 11. Menhir writes, you can now activate Menhir. The cost of this action can be found on the back of each location with a Menhir symbol. Congratulations, you've completed the first quest. You know how to wake the ancient Menhirs. When you finish a quest, make sure to always follow the instructions, success, on the quest card. New task. Get to a location with a Menhir icon and activate its Menhir before your time runs out. Exploration ends. Success. As soon as you have Menhir rights, resolve Chapter 1, Part 5 from the event deck. Discard this card. Remember not to change the structure of the rest of the deck. Place this card atop the active quest pile. Despite your best efforts to learn and perform the ancient rite, the Menhir of your town seems beyond your help. Disheartened, you realize your only hope is to try and enable one of the 2 statues from the nearby locations. We can see that there's Menhir at the 4 Dweller Mounds or at Whitening. Activate a Menhir at one of the nearby locations, 4 Dweller Mounds or Whitening. Success. When you activate the Menhir. Alright, so that I'm going to use my free movement to move there. I have to deal with a gray encounter because it is a new day. I just have to double check my phone. Quick here. Nothing. It just buzzed. So we have a Vagabond. The Vagabond has the status of fast. So fast means I can play a max of 2 cards per activation. So I couldn't chain together like 4 or 5 cards to make it work. This can go away. Three cards here. Simply going to defend. So I prevent 2 damage. He's going to deal me 1. I get to draw a card. I'm at 3 cards, but I still have the ability to draw an additional card. You know what? I'm just going to run away. I could take damage. I could go for what I want. Maybe I'll just do this. I'm going to hold guard this time. The reason is I can choose his ability, except for run away. It doesn't matter. I can play that and force him to run away. So that was a considerably less successful combat. But then I'm going to pay 1 energy to move back into Kana for the night so that I don't have to suffer the damage from the unnatural chill. Which is great. I spend a food. I will spend a reputation to keep my experienced guide. Find the rest of the night. I can spend experience, which I will spend all 6 experience. And it has it on this card for the 3rd point in one of the attribute pairs. So 1, 2. So my 3rd point, that costs 6. Still worth it. Then I'm at a location where I can dream. So I find 101 and read the dream. In your restless dream, a pale lady rises from the water. Her eyes milky and her skin spoiled with rot. She whispers something into your ear. Her breath smells of sea salt, kelp, and rotten fish. You barely remember the words. There was something about 3 enigmas, one hidden under the Isle of the Dead, one clasped or clutched in the grasp of a burned hands and arms, and one buried in the mist-covered mounds. But what could that mean? Hint, the dream references 3 out of the possible 8 locations surrounding Connaught. It's possible some are not yet revealed. So, we know, well, I know what they are at this point. I know that one is the 4 Dweller Mounds, one is the Charred Conclave, and one is the Island Asylum. The Island Asylum is where the dead are underground. Or hidden under the Isle of the Dead. The other one is clutched in the grass. There's a Wicker Man, where druids were burned. And one is in mist-covered mounds, the 4 Dweller Mounds. Alright, so as the night, we come to the day phase. We'll tick this down to 4. Howling Gale. When resting, gain no health and lose no terror. So I can decide where I want to go from here. I could go up here, which would give me a chance to get to the Four Dweller Mounds. I mean, there's a free movement to go up there. I could do a free movement to the Charred Conclave. We're at 4 there. I'm going to do my free movement there to spend 2 to go to the Hunter's Grove, gather food, and deal with the first green encounter. Basically, I want to prep, since I have some time right now, I want to prep by gathering food so that when I hit chapter 2, I'm able to do well. So we have a mist-shaped vermint. Huh. Surprise attack. I could spend a magic, and that would give me 4. Just straight up kill him. Otherwise, I could take a damage. I'm going to take the damage. Why? Because I'm putting 3 cubes on him. So he's 3 damage. 3 damage. He loses a cube. So I don't actually take any damage, which then I draw, and I'm able to play this again for 2 damage there, since 2 times red cubes is 4. 4 is enough to kill him. That gains me an additional food, so I'm sitting at 5 food. And I have beat the mist-shaped varmint. So I have 2 remaining energy. I could go to the town of Whitening, or I could go to the Four Dweller Mounds, spend 2, gain a terror, 1 wealth, and roll the die. Well, I'm not going to do that this time. I am going to go there for 1 energy. I can look to see what I need to activate the menhir. 1 action, 1 health, 2 wealth, 1 food. And because I'm Erev, I always have to play a magic. I'm going to activate this coming up, but first I want to explore at 106. And I'll probably go back at the start of the next day, go here, hunt again, and then return before lighting it. If you have the Winds of the Weirdness status, I don't have Winds of Weirdness. Alright. The mist-covered mounds resonate with the sound of spades and pickaxes. Only insane treasure hunters work here. But as more and more gold emerged from under the earth, the burial grounds turned into a regular mine. Or at least almost regular. People disappear or go mad here on occasion. I can wander deeper. I can chat with the miners. This is a good question on what I want to do. I'm going to chat with the miners. Mainly because I can see a little bit here. I haven't read, but I can see that in verse 1 it requires spending energy. And I'm at my last energy that I want to spend for the day. So, you stop to listen to the miners' tales. They say a young foreman's apprentice once met a pale, sad girl between the mounds, and she ran from him without a single word. Over the following weeks, he kept slipping away from his work to wander between the mounds looking for her. He saw her 2 more times, but never managed to catch on. Finally, one day, he noticed the girl running into an open Four Dweller mound. He followed her. The place was dark and teeming with strange powers. The apprentice kept pushing onwards, even as the voices taunted him and laughed. Finally, after hours of fruitless search, he emerged from the exit, only to discover his body and posture had changed. He was now a young, pale girl. Before she was able to overcome the shock of this discovery, a gruff foreman's apprentice spotted her. Shocked and ashamed, she ran away and wandered the mounds for days until she found an open tomb again. This time, there was an empty coffin inside. The girl was so tired, she lay in it and fell asleep. She woke up in a comfortable bed as a 6-year-old boy who still shuddered from the intensity of his dream. This dream never left his mind and finally pushed him to leave the village at the age of 15 to sign up as the foreman's apprentice in the mounds. The man who tells you this story has sunken, sad eyes full of fear and yearning. You thank him for his time and discreetly move away. If you don't have part 2 of Burning Mystery status, each member gains an experience and then gain part 2 of Burning Mystery status. So experience. So we have 7 status parts without getting out of chapter 1, and I'm sure there are a number more that we could probably come across. So we are going to hit the night phase again. I spend a food, which doesn't allow me to gain any health or reduce terror. That's fine. Reset that energy. I'll pay a reputation. And that's it. So this now drops down to 3. I know that I'm going to come back here for lighting the men here. I know I can do that with what I have, I think. 2 wealth, so I have to make sure I keep 2 wealth. Energy, health, and food. So we have our dream. There are no dreams in this place. The sleep is cold and silent as the mounds themselves. So there is an opportunity for a nightmare, but don't need to do that. So we've knocked that down, paid for our experience guide. We're ready to flip here. Full moon. When you draw a random purple encounter, draw 2 and pick the highest value. Whenever you draw a random green or gray encounter, draw a purple encounter instead. The cost of activating menhirs is lowered by 1 magic. So to me that would allow me to not spend a magic to light the menhir, so I'm definitely going to try and light the menhir today. However, first things first, let's go treasure hunting. So I wandered deep in the mounds. No one was ever able to count the mounds, and most experienced miners claim the new ones keep arriving, though no one can explain how. How far do you dare wander? Roll it so I could stick close. I'm going to push further. So spending an energy. 4, 5, 6. Verse 8. So 6 is precisely what I needed to get into the heart of the mounds. You reach the heart of the mounds and stop awestruck. Go to verse 3. A burial mound taller than all the others emerges from the mist in front of you, its front gate betraying the same shrine as
all old steel items. You feel uneasy. This is not a good place for a mortal to be. So I can dig into the mound, go to verse 9. Attempt to break through the gate requires Steel Smasher's secret card or 2 aggression. I have 2 aggression. Or I can leave. I'm going to attempt to break through the gate. 10. You strike the gate, a piercing wail staggers you. You push some scraps of cloth deep into your ears and continue. Soon a crack appears in the surface of the gate. Then another one. Finally the metal crumbles, letting out a piercing cry that makes your ears bleed. Inside you find a labyrinth of interconnected rooms and corridors filled with items that defy description. You stumble out hours later, dazed and confused. You didn't even think to grab something to sell, but the knowledge that crept into your mind instead is precious. If you have secret card 11, I do, so I just gained a magic. Otherwise, I would have gained 2 magic and 2 experience. But I got that down here, which is the safest way, because I wouldn't have necessarily had 2 aggression to be able to attempt that earlier. Free travel there. Travel 1 there. Then move an additional 1 to Whitening. I have to just choose, do I want to go to the 4 Dweller Mounds and light that man here? Or do I want to go to Whitening and light that one? You know, from last time I lit the one in Whitening, which makes me want to light the other one. However, full moon, this is the night that I should do the one in Whitening if I'm going to do it, because I need less magic for it. But I'm going to light the one at 4 Dweller Mounds right now. All characters. I spend an action, a health, 2 wealth, and 1 food. And I set the men here there with its dial set to 8. Because I have lit this, I immediately go to part 6. Just getting low on cards there. Congratulations! You completed the first chapter of Fall of the Avalon campaign. Gain 2 experience and 1 magic. Each character gains a free combat card advancement. So combat card advancements, what that means is I shuffle this up. I draw the top 3, and then I pick one of those top 3 cards. I could do extensive planning. Wow, all of these are Arrow cards. So I could do Scythe Pull, or Side Pull, allows me to choose a level on the card. It has a +3, but it also, the other connections are a double courage or a double practicality, which is less than ideal for me, though I'm close to being able to add an additional practicality if I wanted. Just need 1 more energy. Sewing, which gives me a double, but I think extensive planning, which each party member draws an extra card on their draw step. It doesn't do much of anything except give me a plus, and it's all single cards, so that is very good for Arrow. Like that's going to help me hit harder. No attack on it. I was hoping for attack a little bit. And then discard your event deck. Place any discarded random event cards back in the random event deck and shuffle it. Then either save my game or draw Chapter 2 setup and follow the instructions. So I'm going to save my game here. And there's a reason for me wanting to save the game. And that's because by saving the game, I'm going to be able to come back at this save point. I have defeated Chapter 1. There's Allmother's Blessing, which would allow me to come back if I wanted to. However, I think I just shuffled a chapter card in there. However, and I can look at that and see what that is, but right now, like, it is going to be decent to just save, keep track of everything. I have the save sheet here, so I can say I have 2 aggression, 1 courage, 1 practicality, 1 empathy, 1 caution, and 0 spirituality. I have my energy marker is on 3, health is on 7, terror is on 0, food is a 3, wealth is a 0, reputation is a 1, experience is a 3, and magic is a 3. The men here are on locations 101 and 106. That one has a dial value of 3, the other one has a dial value of 8. There are no quest dials, there are no guardian dials out there. So I have a full save of where I'm at right now, minus the cards I have. So I'm just going to do a quick jot of 17 secret, 11 secret, and experienced guide. And then extensive planning. This gives me a perfect save so that I can come back later if I want to tear this down, set it back up again, but also if I die in the next part of the quest, I can still do this, come back in right where I was. But that's going to be it for tonight. So thank you everybody who's checked this out. Thank you to everybody who's checking this out later. If you found this enjoyable and you watched it on Twitch, please give me a follow. If you're watching this later on YouTube, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe. Those help more people find these videos. Also, you can check out what I'm doing in some of the other spots that I have stuff. First, there is the podcast that I do, not related to board games, but related to Marvel. 10-Minute Marvel Podcast, which is on iTunes, Google Play, Music, Spotify, and Stitcher. I do 10-minute or so episodes every week, just to give you an update on Marvel news and comics, MCU, things like that, as well as review a movie or talk about a topic. So like I talked about Jennifer Walter last week, who is also known as She-Hulk, and talked about some casting rumors for She-Hulk as well as other things in the news. Or you can also check out nerdologists.com. That is spelled NERDLOLGISTS.com. I am putting up board game reviews, articles about various things such as anime reviews or board game battles where I pit two similar games against each other. I recently did one on King of Tokyo and Dice Throne, since both of them use a Yahtzee style rolling mechanic that you can check out if you want. But I will be back probably in 2 weeks. There's a chance it'll be next week, or there's a chance it'll be sooner, but we'll have to see what the schedule looks like for me. And I would say with that, bottoms up, but this is dry, so I will just see you for the next stream.